vender formaciones online, cualquier servicio online digital paquetizado, tenemos información valiosa para ti. ¿Por qué? Porque estás hasta las narices de pagar impuestos en España. Es un país que te roba cada día. A vender formaciones online, cualquier servicio online digital paquetizado, tenemos información valiosa para ti. ¿Por qué? Porque estás hasta las narices de pagar impuestos en España. Es un país que te roba cada día. A vender formaciones online, cualquier servicio online digital paquetizado, tenemos información valiosa para ti. ¿Por qué? Porque
os llamo desde el Palacio Real. Es importante que apuntéis bien. Sería un 2x1. Estas nuevas que tenéis que van con el borde relleno, que llevan salsitas para mojar. Eso es. Gracias.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Ahí vienes. Ya tengo el cambio, ¿vale?
Gracias. Se llama, ¿no?
Sí.
Yeah.
¿Sabes la sensación de saber que estás tan reventada que no tienes ni hambre? Pues a mí no me pasa.
Desde aquel que después de mi amigo que hace tan poco una pizza, viva la masa. Ahí está el secreto de la pizza.
How long did it take you to be profitable? Not your first winning trade, but where you discovered that you have an edge now that, while it may not be perfect, nobody has 100% strike rate. How long did it take for you to get to that point where you were confident that you can claim that you're consistently profitable?
Yeah, so it was probably 3 years after I had joined the mentorship. And I think what changed my profitability was understanding a model, a specific model. And within that model, there were specific tools that I had to implement, which was, the weekly range, daily range, understanding those things, the Judas swing, their rally gap per box. So it really was like a culmination of a bunch of different things that created a full model. Because I had tried just using one model or one concept, and it didn't really, paint the full picture.
When you were studying, what was your schedule like around your work? How much time did you usually devote to studying? And what did it look like? What kind of routine was it? Was it just back testing? Was it using like a Forex tester program? Give us an idea of what it was like when you were going through that process.
Yeah, so my schedule with work was kind of hectic. I was probably working 60, 70 hours a week. So I didn't really, I had to put my social life on the back burner, and I was mostly studying after work and late hours. And I was getting up for London, staying up for London, then going into work like a zombie. And I did do back testing. I forward tested. A lot of time it was just in the live market. So a lot of my study was just really a lot of my free time.
Did you journal? And if you did journal, was it impactful, and how did it help you?
Yeah, so I do journal. And not only is it helpful for like a statistical edge, I think journaling your emotions and how you're feeling in a trade is a lot more important than just getting the statistical edge, because your statistical edge is going to improve if you can understand your emotions and your behaviors behind your decision making.
How do you, as a trader, handle losing trades?
So that for me was probably the hardest thing because I was as somebody that's impulsive, I overtraded and revenge traded a whole lot. So really just having the discipline to take a loss on the day and just come back the next day, because understanding that the market's going to be here, without me, it's every time I took a break from the market, whether it was 3-6 months while I was going through your mentorship, I always came back, saw the same instead of standing out. I had to get rid of the FOMO factor, really, and just focus on an edge over time.
You mentioned revenge trading. For the listeners that never really traded yet, kind of walk us through what that means as a trader when, because I've done that too. Everybody's ever traded with real money has done this before. But from your perspective, what does that mean when you say that you experienced the adversities of revenge trading? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so really, you have to figure out what it stems from. And for me, it was really just me trying to escape my job. And not only that, I was a pretty competitive person like when I was younger. So, learning how to lose is really tough, really difficult if you're not used to losing. Because instead of focusing on the outcome, right, you have to focus on the process, going through it and making sure you have a proper model, because you're going to have losses. And getting through that was probably the most difficult because everybody that comes in the markets wants to be a winner every single day. It doesn't feel good to leave your desk and not make any money.
So in comparison to how, when you first started learning about this and how you use the concepts and risk management, the difference between your perspective on taking losses and the hardships that come with that, both emotionally and psychologically, how do you view yourself as a trader now? Do you feel significantly less emotions when you take a losing trade? And if that's true, why is it that you have less emotion now behind a losing trade?
Yeah, so that was really just a really long working process. So even 5 years ago, it was really managing my impulses. Like I was a lot more overweight than I am now. I was unhealthy. I was not getting enough exercise, things like that. So just really accepting the fact that you have to be disciplined with certain things, right? And every time I was undisciplined, I was always blowing my account up. So feeling that pain and feeling the desire to try and make the money back, it always put me in a deeper hole. So I know that that's probably a huge mistake that a lot of people go through, is when they're looking at their equity curve, their drawdown, is when they really look at their drawdown periods and it's extremely steep. You have to understand what that's coming from. So for me, it was always revenge trading. So the best thing that I could recommend for somebody that's dealing with revenge trading is you have to understand why you're revenge trading in the first place and fall out of it, not sprint out.
Obviously, there's a lot of new students that are finding me, and there's a lot of people that are in my mentorship that have not found their profitable model yet. You, as a student that have gone through a private mentorship and now reached the profitability, what would you say to encourage those individuals that have yet to find their profitable model or consistency?
I think you really just have to, submit to time, really, because when I first started trading, I wanted to be a swing trader, and my personality just didn't. It took me a really long time to just understand that I'm impatient and I wanted, it fits more of an intra-week, intra-day model for me. So you really have to take time to understand yourself, first of all, and then understand these concepts and then figure out your model from there, right? You can't, it's not very black and white. You can give somebody a strategy and say, all right, this is your model. Obviously you could, but if it doesn't, match your lifestyle or personality, then you're going to be fighting. You're going to be wrestling with it for sure. So you kind of have to just take your time and understand yourself and your personality, and then create the model around your lifestyle, right? Your personality, all your weaknesses and your strengths.
Great. Could you describe your personal model and what specific ICT concepts do you?
Crear para todos. Participa en la Junta General de Accionistas de Iberdrola.
Yeah, so my personal model is really just trading the weekly or the daily range within those specific profiles. So I utilize the economic calendar And I'm really just looking for the Judas swing, above or below the midnight open to a specific standard deviation, market structure shift, and then entering on a fair value gap. Like 80 to 90% of my trades are probably using a fair value gap.
Awesome. So are you a London trader or a New York trader, or do you do both?
Just New York. I've tried to, change my sleep schedule up to get up to London, but it just my body doesn't agree with it.
It's very difficult to do it if you're not in a part of the world where it's easy to do it. It's a challenge. Could you walk us through a typical day as a trader, and like how do you analyze? Briefly, like what's it like for you to wake up, start your day? What analysis do you do? Do you have a routine that you follow, and what would that be like?
Yeah, it's pretty monotonous. Like every week I'm doing the same thing. So Sunday nights I'm sitting down at the charts and reviewing my weeklies, preparing for the week, looking at the economic calendar, and then during the evening, at each close, I'm looking at previous day's highs and lows, the session highs and lows, the narrative behind that, and preparing for the following day. Expecting a Judas swing in one direction or the other.
Could you take some time to kind of like give us your personal comprehensive opinion in view of what it was like for you to go through the mentorship and to use the concepts that are made available to the community? What successes have you had? What hardships did you meet that you didn't expect that you would have? And just an overall viewpoint from your perspective, what was like for you as a trader going through it?
Yeah, so I actually was thinking about like canceling my subscription multiple times, because I was really just studying on my own. I wasn't using the forum. I wasn't reaching out to traders. I was just kind of studying and trying to apply it myself. And then I networked and met a couple people that study your concepts, and a lot of them truly helped me a lot. And a lot of them recommended the same thing. A lot of them just had mentioned, exit all the chat rooms.
Yes.
Isolate yourself and go into study. And that's really where I grew a lot. Like I stopped watching your weekly analysis, and because I understood all the concepts and I was trying to follow you. And I mean, it was working at times, but I didn't really like understand, it was like you were hand holding me, and I had to just like leave the nest and kind of figure it out on my own. And that's like the biggest growth that I have had, was just studying by myself, because not only I wasn't being influenced by other people's biases or headlines or anything like that. I stopped reading, I didn't read any news. Like I was just me in the charts. So that was probably the biggest turning point for me with the mentorship content. But yeah, if I had any recommendation for anyone that was going through the mentorship or is trying to study on their own, really try and reach out to people that are more experienced than you, because they can provide a lot different perspective that might help you on your journey.
In terms of success, how could one understand the level of success that you have right now versus what you were trying to do as a retail trader? Like, are you a funded trader, or do you trade with your own funds? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the prop industry has really springboarded my trading career, really, because I was so reliant on my income from my career. Like I was making a good six figures in my job, so I really didn't have the desire, or that it really wasn't pushing me to try and like go full-time trading. It really was just like my fear of trying to become a full-time trader. But the prop, a lot of traders are undercapitalized, so managing prop capital has really springboarded my career. Now I'm a full-time trader, and I'm making multiples of what I used to make at my job, and it's seriously a dream come true. So I'm really trying to. I know that there's some uncertainties with prop capital. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be around forever. Like if they regulate it, they might shut some of them down. Like I was with some firms that owed me like $10,000. They shut down because of ASIC, like Australian regulations. So really, I'm trying to take advantage of what I can to withdraw as much money as I can from prop firms and just fund my own personal accounts. So if if people are out there struggling with prop firms, they have to understand the statistics behind it, right? So only like 3% of people make it to the payout, which is kind of mind blowing because the parameters to pass is not that difficult if you're patient. It's really about keeping it. So I was, instead of risking 1%, I'm risking 0.25%. That way I can have at least, 30, 40 losing trades in a row and not blow up down.
Say that once more. How much are you risking?
0.25%, because
There you go.
if it's really just rudimentary math. Like not a lot. If you can just do the math behind it, right? You have a 10% drawdown. If you're doing 1%, you're only allowed 10 losses in a row. You can easily lose 10 trades in a session.
Yes. Yes.
So, 0.25% is really 2.5% of your drawdown limit, which is still high.
I'm very pleased that you mentioned that risk allowance that you've given yourself for trading. So many people stick to this. They want to build up real quick wins, get those 5-figure, 6-figure withdrawals from funded accounts or their own live trading. And they don't really give themselves a chance because the effects of trading with real money now, if they've never done it before, it's going to be a strong catalyst for them to do things that are outside the scope of their rules or their model. So when you first started trading, did you have that initially at one time where you felt like you wanted to go out of the model's rules because now you're with real money, or did you not have that?
Yeah, that was part of it. So like when I didn't, a big part of it was me just saving up enough money as like a nest egg where I didn't have to worry about my expenses for 2 or 3 years, right? And that took me a really long time, but it alleviated a lot of pressure from having to make money, right? So a lot of traders are probably going for those big accounts and want to get a huge payout for their job right away. And it's really extremely unrealistic. Like,
Exactly.
give yourself time, build up a nest egg of, 2 or 3 years of expenses. That way, if you have a bad month on the funded account, you don't have to worry about the bills that you have to pay.
Awesome. Could you share with us the types of wins or success that you had trading with funded account?
Yeah, so I've only been a full-time trader for like a year and a couple months, and it's been a parabolic growth for me. So when I first left my job, I was managing about $800,000 in funded capital, and I had enough expenses where the job was just kind of grinding me down, and I took the risk and I said, I'm gonna go full-time. If it doesn't work out in like a year or two, at least I have enough funds to cover myself. And I had built a skill set where I wasn't really worried about not being able to find a job. Like I was in a very niche industry. So, sorry, I kind of just lost my train of thought. Yeah, just going back to, getting capital. My goal was always to just get the first payout and reinvest it. So my first couple payouts, I think it was like $20,000 or $30,000 on $400,000 worth of capital. I didn't spend any of that money.
Excuse me. Like when you had your first payout, what did that feel like?
It felt really good, and that was really a turning point in my career where I was like, wow, these firms are really paying out a lot of money, and there's not a whole lot of risk up front unless you're like buying challenges and blowing them and gambling. The fact that they're giving you like 10 times your capital, if you try and do that with your personal account, it's really hard to do. So, if you're going to invest $2,000 and get funded with $400,000, like $40,000 in drawdown limit that you have now, right? So that was a huge thing for me. And what I did was I really treated it like a business. I opened up, an LLC, and I opened up a business credit card to pay for the challenges. But I did have the capital to pay for I wasn't just opening up the credit card and,
charging them all up.
Assuming debt, right?
Yeah.
I had the capital, I could write it off against my income. and I was paying for challenges through that means. That way I could separate my finances and really treat it like a business. If you're going to go and have a startup, right, like $5,000 to $10,000 is really not a whole lot of money to get yourself going.
Right.
And I had the money to pay for the, you know, the expenses, the liability on the back end in case it didn't work out. But as soon as I got that first payout, I took all of that money and just bought more challenges. So now I'm managing close to $2 million in funded capital.
Wow.
And just, you know, taking 0.25% risk across the board.
Are you married?
Yeah.
Okay. How is it that you introduced what you're doing to your spouse? And was she supportive initially? And is she supportive now?
Yeah, so she always knew that I was trading. And the funny story is before we got engaged, I had like a $5,000, it might have been more, like a $7,500 account. And I completely like almost blew it up. Like I lost like 30% in a day. I withdrew it all and then bought her engagement ring. So she always, you know, she always knew I loved it because I was up late at night, you know, listening to videos and stuff. She's right next to me in bed and she's probably thinking like, oh, this guy's crazy. I'm not even making any money doing this, but she always encouraged me to just keep going because she kind of knew that that was something I loved. And I think she knew it, you know, at the end of the day, like maybe this could be something that I do full time. The access to markets right now is amazing, right? Like I think when you had mentioned that you were like plotting the closing prices on graph paper, I was like, man, I can't even imagine the time when it was like that. And even like a lot of the younger kids, like I talked to Paladin a lot, and I'm like, man, you guys don't know how good you have it right now, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
There's so much access. Even your content's like everywhere now. I just find it amazing because, you know, I had mentioned like when I was coming up, Forex Factory, even your YouTube channel, I think some of your videos were only getting 10,000, 5,000
Yeah, well,
views.
it must be well. So you had a spouse that knew you were speculating early. She didn't try to talk you out of it. She just let you have, you know, a run of it. And is she supportive now because of the results you've been able to show?
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it too is like her family's not too they're not too conscious about money. They don't really talk about it a whole lot. So really she's happy with, you know, even if I was just working a regular job. It's not like
that's awesome,
materialistic or anything like that. So that's a huge thing, you know, it was a keeper.
Can you imagine the difficulty that you would have had in addition to what you had to go through, like everybody else does, if your spouse was against the idea and vocalized that all the time?
Yeah.
That would have been hard.
I think, you know, if my spouse was against it, I probably would just quit, you know.
So you've been very blessed to have that. That's actually a very good thing because what we do, the average person, they don't look at this and say, that's something I should do. They want to do it when they see other people make money. And when we are married and we have our relationships, you know, it's unfortunately not easy for them to see what we see as a potential profit or potential outcome in the future, where we know that we can use that to kind of like benefit the family itself. They themselves, many times, they don't understand. Like my wife still doesn't understand it. Like she just thinks it's a video game. But I didn't get the encouragement from her. And I'm so glad that you had that opportunity, because can you imagine the listeners that have experienced the adverse side of what you didn't have to go through?
Well, so like I come from an Asian background, like both my parents are Chinese. So my dad's side of the family was always like that. They were always like, tell me, what are you doing with your life, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Because I was like the black sheep of the family, me and my cousin. You know, a lot of my cousins have like PhDs and they're doing, you know, crazy thing. They have, you know, they're doctors and, you know, chemists and software engineers. And I was kind of like a college dropout. Like my brother was a valedictorian. I didn't live up to that, you know, so I always kind of went my own route. And I feel like that was part of me just constantly going at trading because I saw the potential at the end, which probably a lot of people, I mean, it's there, you know. I don't know how many people actually stick with it and see it through, because at first it feels like it's impossible.
You have what is referred to as an entrepreneurial spirit. So people like us, we don't mind going off the beaten trail. And it's commendable that your family members are in professions, you know, like doctors and such. to me, we need those types of people in society.
Yeah.
But most times traders are not cut from that cloth, and they're just their individual mindsets are completely different. And it's just amazing to see what you've been able to do with it. I'm so blessed to listen to you and share your story and have the feedback that came through your personal experience. Your spouse, she was supportive. She didn't try to derail you. The hardships of having to make a decision about leaving your job and in doing that and the courage.
Yeah, and that was a huge thing because I was already in like a top percentage of income earners. So leaving behind something like that where I had like a future was really difficult.
That takes a lot of conviction, and either you believe in yourself and what you are about to do, or that's a big gamble. And it seems like you've done the work on deciding whether or not if it was feasible for yourself, and it obviously looks like it's doing well for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I can't thank you enough. Seriously.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. Did you ever think you'd be trading at the level you're trading at now when you first started?
Honestly, no, I didn't. I really didn't. And I honestly didn't think I would be full time and have the success that I have just within a year. Like it was really eye opening to kind of put everything together, and it really clicks for me now. But it was such a long process of going through those hard times and learning all those concepts, because at first it felt so foreign to me. Like I didn't really understand how a fair value gap should react when price shifts into it, things like that. But now it's like, all right, now I have a full skill set that I've built up over the course of years, and you kind of have to look at it like that. Right? If you're going to go in through, even traditional education, starting out as like a undergrad, you have to go through all those courses and stuff just to get your foot in the door. And once you're in there, you're just doing the menial tasks, and you want a salary that is that can cover the cost of living, but you don't really have the experience behind it. And I've experienced that in my career. Like I wanted to be the upper management guy, and really I didn't know anything about the industry. I just didn't know anything. So like you have to treat it like you're going through this process. It might take you 4, 5, 6 years, but at the end of the day, you're going to have a PhD level of education that can now print your own paycheck and not have to rely on a job.
That's awesome. I don't have any personal experience with funded accounts, and I'm going to ask you a question I've been getting from other people. What companies have you dealt with that you've had a positive result and experience with, where they've had no difficulty paying out and your experience was overall good with them? What companies have you worked with?
Personally, I've withdrawn over 6 figures from my Forex funds, FTMO, and the funded trader, and some smaller payouts at True Forex funds. And can't remember off the top of my head. There was another firm, but yeah, I haven't had any issues. It's over $300-something thousand from those more well-known firms. I mean, there's so many out there right now that I'm trying to be cautious. I know there's going to be risk on some degree, but yeah, I've mostly dealt with the top 3. Their support's been great. A lot of people ask me about the spreads, and a lot of people complain about the spreads. And to me, I just use a trade copier, but I'm not using ultra tight stops, where maybe a lot of people might get in trouble with that, with slippage and everything. I haven't had any issues with that.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly. You have been able to withdraw over 300,000.
Bueno, todavía.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What was the
Yo salí muerto.
you actually opened up with a funded account? What company was the first one?
It was FTMO.
Okay.
Even like a year ago, a lot of those other firms didn't have the reputation that they have now.
Awesome.
And before that, I hadn't even realized that FTMO had been around already 5 years or something like that. And it was, it's really changed my trading career, because I was the guy that was, applying to Jane Street or SMB Capital, and they're like, all right, what's your background? Do you know anybody? Have you trade? Do you have any experience? I'm like, no, I work in project management. Like I work in construction.
Sign me up. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? What's your goals for yourself?
Yeah, so for me, it almost feels like I'm just getting my trading business off the ground. So really, I have so much to work on and improve my edge, like mentally, And like with just my entries and exits and things like that, my risk management. I mean, it's like a never-ending process. Like it feels like I'm never gonna be perfect, and that's what I love about trading is that every time I hit a new goal, the euphoric feeling kind of goes away because there's always something to move on. So I mean, 3 to 5 years from now, I'd love to be managing for capital, but kind of have my emotions more in check because at times they still get away from me. I'm not perfect, and even some of the best traders I know, they get frustrated at times. It's just normal, we're humans.
Yes. Well, I've had a wonderful time talking to you. I've had just a immense pleasure listening to your story. I've watched the other interviews you conducted with other podcasters and such, and it's been just a wonderful experience to be able to say I had just a small piece of what you were able to do with all this information. And I'm so proud to see what you've done with it. And I'm anxious to see really where you go in those 3 to 5 years. I'm hoping to keep in contact with you.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. It's truly an honor to speak with you.
The honor is all mine, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cuando disfrutas tranquilamente de tu cena, perdón. Filadelfia siempre le pone un sabor especial. Filadelfia, saborea el momento. Y ahora entra en filadelfia.es y descubre cómo ganar una freidora de aire Cosori al instante.
Hello YouTube. So welcome to another documentary series. And this time I'm gonna do 400k MTMO challenges. And if
Mierda, otra vez,
watching
va.
this video, probably I already had the phase 1. Surprise, surprise. I can show you the result because if you are like many people here for the result, then I just told you I passed the phase 1. So you can stop watching. But if you want to follow the process, then this video is for because as a trader myself, I believe that and I can do a video about passing and withdraw, whatever. It's just 10 minutes. It's easy to show you the dashboard and kind of stuff, but I want to show you the process, how I get there, step by step, day by day, trade by trade, and how I manage myself every day, and how I stay in my plan, in my rules, in keeping myself disciplined, and get the result. I think that is the most important thing. And that is something that we are not seeing every day. And I believe that if someone can in the process of then should one person is fine means a lot to me. And it's very, very hard for me to record and trade at the same time. So that's the reason why this time, if I fail, I will not post this video. And it doesn't matter if I spend weeks or even more than 1 month to do this kind of video, I will just drop it. And I just feel very upset if I cannot post it because I spent so much time and effort to do the kind of video and eventually it should end up nowhere. So if you're seeing this video, then I hope that you will be happy because I am happy to publish it. And the reason that I don't want to publish if I fail is you saw me fail more than once, and you saw the emotion, you saw the process, how I faced it, how the loss affect, how the loss changed my trade in many ways. And I think you saw it, and if you studied it, that's good.
Márcalo, que yo tengo sniper.
And what is looked at when I win, and I think that's a beautiful process as well, because what I want to do.
Búscalo, pues.
So what is the trading plan, the game plan for this?
¿Dónde está?
400K challenge, phase 1 especially. The first
Se
one,
habla ahí, eh.
which is 1% trade. The second one,
¿Ya lo viste?
trading frequency. For optimal trading frequency, I'm gonna say 1 trade a day is the best. And if I break this rule, which is
Me
the
se está
second rule,
escapando.
that's when the third rule comes. The maximum trade per day is 2 trades. And so in case that I break the second rule, I allow myself only another trade, which is the second trade. Because I only allow myself for 2 trades a day at maximum. But for best scenario, for best performances, 1 trade a day, 1 trade a day.
Ahí le di.
Then I don't have to go other things. If I can stick to just 1
Alto.
trade, it's gonna be beautiful. But in case that I don't, 2 trades together. And the max daily loss, 2%. I am allowing myself to trade.
No se te entiende nada. No entendí. Que la zona al principio era- no se entiende, man. I can move. Se acabó el playito. Que hay uno. Ahí lo escuché. Y en el próximo, acuérdame de hacer el canal de voz nosotros para que no nos escuchen. El man está aquí adentro, ¿eh? Está escondido ahí al frente del edificio ese, ¿eh? Son dos. Van van yendo van yendo al puente. para que lanzaron humo. Por las armas. Ahí viene gente, ojo. Llega. Pero tú eres culé cagado, verde. Si están ahí, no llega conmigo. Un poquito de plata ahí, plata. Un poquitico. Gracias. No, no alcanza. Ya está, márcalo. Mándalo, pues. Bueno, muchachos, una super entrada, miren, pueden ver que corrió unos 70. Ahí se va retrocediendo, vamos a cerrarla. Vamos a colocarle un pequeño take profit a esto, stop loss, perdón, para proteger la ganancia, porque a veces hace dos subidas y retrocede. Entonces vamos a dejarlo aquí para proteger esta ganancia. Me deja. Vamos a dejar que corra 3 velas. Paz. No, vamos a cerrarlo. Y vamos a revisar la otra operación que tenemos en curso. Aquí está. Y ya está. Puta. ¿Qué? Hijo de puta, ¿eso qué fue? Hasta arriba, donde estaban. No puede ser. Ahí donde morí yo. Ahí está de campero, ahí está de campero. Oh, man. ¿Qué vas a seguir cayendo? Y está a ver que aquí no hay ni arma. Arriba donde márcalo ahí, por favor. Puta, hombre. Hay varios abajo. Márcalo, ¿dónde está? Uy, hijo de puta. Aquí, yo me lo bajo, espérate. Está asomado a la ventana. Ahí ve. Está arriba abajo que está en el techo. Está otro. Hijo de puta, se mantiene con la puntería, man. Puta, hombre. Ahí vienen, ellos tienen que haber bajado. ¿Y quién tiene placas? No tengo nada. ¿Quién tiene placas? Ya tengo. Ah, todos aquí nos avisan. Están todos ahí. Sí. Marica, pero aquí hay uno aquí al lado, ¿no? Abajo, 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 aquí está, mira. Ahí viene uno. Viene uno por la escalera. Ya vamos. Aquí escondido, te aquí escondido. Allá al fondo cayó uno. Da, pero vienen por detrás, hueputa sapo. No, hombre. Márquelo, márquelo que tengo un sniper. ¿Dónde? Cúreme ahí para coger las armas. Ahí cayó uno. Está muerto. Está solo, se cayó solo. Marica, no puedo subir a rescatarte. Ojo, ojo. Al caja, que hoy te me ha buscado. Bueno, toca estar muy pendiente. Oye, ese otro marica, ¿por qué no juega? Marca, 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 marca. Él le di en la pierna. Un tiro. Está un tiro. Muerto, muerto, muerto. Estaba ahí. Ok, viene gente. Muerto. Ok, no. El otro lo ganamos. Ush. Ya, mierda.